morning, it's Anna. Fall is a busy time in Kentucky as farmers are harvesting the many crops that grow throughout the spring and summer. Two of the most important crops that are grown in the bluegrass state are corn and soybeans. Winter wheat, which will be planted in these same fields, is also an important crop. Today we are visiting Peterson Farms near Bardstown. We will get to take a ride in their combine while they are harvesting, learn where the crops go when they leave the farm, and the many products they are used for. Let's go! First I met with Albert Peterson. He and his uncles were working to harvest their field corn. Field corn is not like the sweet corn we eat on the cob. Field corn is left on the stalk until the kernels, or seeds of the plant, are hard and dry. Good morning, Mr. Peterson.
Good morning, Anna.
Could you tell us a little bit about your farm?
Yes, I farm with my father, Bill, and my two uncles, David and Bernard, and we grow several thousand acres of field corn, soybeans, and wheat.
This seems different than the sweet corn that I usually eat. What kind is it?
Yes, this is field corn, primarily used in livestock feed and some products like corn flakes that you and I eat.
How do you get the corn off the stalks?
Well, we're really busy harvesting today. Would you like to come and ride along, and I'll show you?
I'd love to. Since the Petersons have a few thousand acres of corn to harvest, they use a very large piece of equipment called a combine, and I got to ride along. Albert told me that it takes his family and workers about 30 days to harvest all the corn they grow. It will take more time to harvest the soybeans. If there is bad weather, then it can take even longer since driving on mud is bad for the soil. While we were in the combine, Albert told me how the combine works. I was amazed that the combine could steer itself using a satellite and GPS. In fact, the combine was full of gadgets that helped the Petersons know how much grain they produced and how much more the corn has to dry. So what does the monitor do?
Okay, this is a yield monitor that records the yield of the corn as we travel through the field. Every 10 feet or so, a point is taken, and the yield is measured through several pieces of equipment in the combine, along with the moisture level. And a map is made of the whole field and that yield using GPS technology.
What does yield mean?
Yield is the amount of corn per unit of area.
Oh.
So corn is measured and sold in bushels here in the United States. So we display the yield in bushels per acre.
Okay. Once the combine fills with corn, it has to unload into a grain cart that runs alongside of the combine. Then the corn is trucked to be cleaned, dried, and stored. Next, I met with Albert's uncle, David Peterson, who watches over the granary. Many times a day, a truck will arrive and unload the corn into the floor. It then moves through a cleaner to remove any corn cobs or shucks. Mr. Peterson also has to make sure that the corn is dry enough to be stored. A grain dryer helps reduce the moisture in the kernels before it is moved to one of the large storage bins. It will stay in the bins until it is time to be delivered to their customers. Field corn is used in many different ways. Most of the field corn grown is fed to farm animals like chickens, cattle, and pigs. Field corn is also used in many of our food products like breads, cereals, chips, and tortillas. You can find it in everyday items like batteries, toothpaste, paper, paint, baby powder, and fireworks. In fact, there are more than 4,000 uses for field corn. Scientists have even found a way to make plastics and fibers out of corn that will not harm our environment. They are completely biodegradable. And if corn wasn't already amazing, it can be used to make ethanol, which is used to fuel cars. This fuel, made from renewable corn, is mixed with our regular gasoline to reduce pollution and conserve oil. Corn is not the only cool crop grown in Kentucky. Most of the farmers who grow corn also grow soybeans and wheat, and they alternate the crops in the field to help the soil. Soybeans are very high in oil and protein, which makes them a very good feed for livestock. In Kentucky, most all of the soybeans grown are used in livestock feed. And like corn, soybeans can also be found in many of our food and consumer products and used to make biodiesel, a renewable fuel for diesel engines. Wheat is grown in Kentucky during the colder months. It is planted in fall and looks a lot like grass during winter. In the spring, the wheat will start growing again and produce its grain. The wheat will be harvested in late spring or early summer. Wheat is mostly used for foods like breads, muffins, cakes, cookies, crackers, and cereals. I had no idea all of these crops were so important to our state. I sure did learn a lot about corn, soybean, and wheat production here in Kentucky. And the next time I go to the grocery store, I know I could be eating our Kentucky crops. We can even find Kentucky's corn and soybeans at the gas station. I sure would like to thank the Petersons for showing me around today. There is so much more to learn about Kentucky's farms. Until next time!